TV host author Chris Salcedo trumpets a new American revolution, the rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, on this episode of United Patriots Uprising with Gary Binford. I'm your host, Gary Binford. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is available at radioinfluence.com and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find it at YouTube and Rumble and many other places. We'll talk about it at the end of the show, where you can get the archive, where you see guests such as Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, Ben Carson, Monica Crowley, and Pastor Jack Hibbs. You know, the left has forged ahead for decades, intent upon cramming their Marxist revolution down our patriotic throats. Well, Chris Salcedo has written a book about another type of revolution, one that declares it's the left's worst nightmare. The Latino population that is becoming awake, no longer woke. So are you ready to hear about it? Well, let's get into it. He's a veteran political analyst, podcaster, television and radio broadcaster. Many of us see him daily as host of the Chris Salcedo Show on Newsmax. I welcome to the show the author of the new book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, a New American Revolution, Chris Salcedo. How are you, Chris?
Gary, great to meet you. Thank you for the invite, man. It's really appreciated.
I really appreciate you coming on. You have a bunch of great shows, and we're going to get into everything you do. I don't know how you find time to do everything, but we'll get into that. But you call yourself a proud Latino conservative. What led you to write this book, which tells about the growing number of Hispanic Americans standing up for faith, family, freedom, and our Constitution?
Well, it's always been part of the culture that I came up with in my family. But when I got out of news and went into conservative talk, I needed a moniker. So when I started over 15 years ago with the Blaze, I just did the math in my head. At the Blaze, I wanted something, and I love alliteration. So I said, let's see, I'm a Latino. That's kind of my identity. That's who I am. Okay. So, and I love liberty. I love the Constitution. So liberty-loving. Okay. I got two L's there. Liberty-Loving Latino. So I was like, okay, I love so that was basically strung those concepts together, and that became my moniker. So, and that differentiates me from loudmouth leftist Latinos out there who don't revere the Constitution and don't revere my country.
Hear you. Now, being black, I just grew up a Democrat because that's all we knew. And I never questioned anything. I didn't even know any Republicans or conservatives until I got born again, a born again follower of Jesus in 1997. And it was just assumed that all black men. Now, when Joe Biden says, if you ain't black if you don't vote for me, I was highly offended by that. But back in the day, I would have said, yeah. So how did you survive and escape the Democratic plantation growing up?
I was never on it. That's the good thing. And I'm really happy that there's a great Black awakening too. And I write about it extensively in the book. We call it the Great Black Awakening, as those, and I say this to all of, whether they be Kevin Jackson, my friend of the Black sphere, or anybody in the Black community. I say that we Latinos owe you in the Black community so much, because you guys took the slings and the arrows, destroyed your communities by undying devotion for 70 years to the Democrat Party. And look what that has done to the Black community. So you guys showed us, don't go down this road, don't do it. And I was bound and determined not to let the Latino community go down that same failed road where the Black community had gone. And they're clawing back. They're really, really trying hard. The Black community and the Latino community, all we've had for all this undying devotion to the Democrats is an abortion clinic on every corner, and I want more. Thank you.
I hear you. Now, were you under any pressure, like in college, like you went to San Diego State, which is on the left coast in San Diego, and or even within the community where you were raised? Was there any pressure to be a leftist, being Hispanic? Because it was almost blacks and Hispanics were leftists, although for leftists, it was for Hispanics, there's kind of a lot of Hispanics being Catholic, and the abortion issue kind of made it kind of tough. But was there ever any real pressure on you to resist, drinking the leftist Kool-Aid?
The pressure came from white liberals who try to tell me, and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, try to tell me exactly how I need to behave as a Latino. And excuse me, what credentials do you have to tell me any of that? So most of you've heard the pejoratives. For me, it's a coconut. I'm sure you've been called the Oreo cookie. This idea of being black on the outside, white on the inside, brown on the outside, white on the inside. The supposition is by the left wingers, folks, is that it's somehow white to want freedom, liberty, prosperity, and safety and security and the rule of law. Those are not white concepts, folks. Those are American concepts. And those concepts belong to anybody who yearns to breathe free.
Right. Now, Chris, something I never was able to wrap my brain around recently. Okay, if you're considered like a quote unquote minority, like if you're black or Hispanic or anything, you all have to vote one way. Yet when you look at the white community, there's a lot that vote on the right. There's a lot that vote on the left, and that's okay. So why is it if you want to leave the Democratic Party plantation as a Hispanic or a black person, all hell falls on you, yet they don't even hold the same standard to their own community?
White left-wing elitists. That's it. Look, and you probably studied the Jim Crow South. Who was in charge? Yeah. Democrats. Yeah. Democrats are in charge of those areas. Left-wingers use our differences to enslave. That's what they've done time immemorial. Today's modern Democrats are not any different. And whether they be in Congress or whether they be in the mainstream press, CNN, MSNBS, always try to tell us how we've got to act. The only legitimate Hispanic is one who is a left-wing nut job who wants open borders and massive uncontrolled illegal immigration. The only good black person is one who is crying for communism and the government takeover of America and our lives. That's the narrative that they push. And of course, I can't get on CNN because I'm a conservative, and I break their narrative. I break their mold. In fact, the only person that's ever given me a microphone in my life to espouse what I believe in has been a conservative who has said, here, we want to hear what you have to say. It's always left-wingers who claim to be so open-minded and so diverse, right? We so much love diversity, but we don't want to give Chris Salcedo a microphone. We don't want to give Gary a microphone because they don't disagree with left-wing extremism. That's the reality. And you know what? I don't like the term minority. I'm an American.
Right.
There's nothing minor about me, right? That what's minor in this country, what the minority is, folks, is those who have a left-wing mindset. They are the minority by definition. You look at communist countries throughout human history. It's always been that small circle of leftists who enslave the masses. They are the minority, and we outnumber them.
That's right. Now, here's something else. Like, you're going to help me now because to help me, can do a little psychiatry. I'm laying on the couch because there's certain things I just can't understand. Like, I don't understand why any Hispanics would support people coming across the border illegally if they're trying to do it and have done it the right way, had to wait in line, wanted to become an American citizen, wanted to assimilate, went through the process or are still going through the process. And here comes people coming across the border, bringing the flag of their country with them when they hit the border. And when they hit Texas, they're not picking up an American flag. They're coming across with what they had, and they're going to jump the line and jump over you and get free stuff. Like I've joked around with my church brothers and my friends back a couple of years ago that I was thinking of flying to Mexico, calling myself Manuel Rivera, and coming back across the border and living in a 4-star hotel in New York.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Why? I don't understand the mentality of anybody who would say, yeah, that's good. Jump across. Yeah, my family, we've had to wait in line. We're doing it the right way. We love America. Yeah, go ahead. You can go in front of me. Explain that to me, please.
Well, you know what? The good news is those who have come to America legally, they are offended and slapped in the face by the uncontrolled open borders. Now, about those who come here fleeing Democrat-run countries, right? Those with the same ideology as the Democrats. I can tell you that those who are greeted at the border with a voter registration card saying vote Democrat, look, free stuff is seductive, right? Right now, the United States of America is not where those countries are. We'll get there if we continue to go down this road of socialism, communism, and left-wing extremism. But these people are coming from a country where the Democrats have already taken over, where there's no opportunity, where there's no freedom, where there's no security. So they get greeted in America where the Democrats want to do the same thing here, but they don't lead that in the brochure, right? They say, we want to give you other people's stuff. And that's what's so seductive about this. You buy into it. We welcome you in. You vote Democrat. We're going to give you the vote and all this kind of stuff, which the Democrats are doing. And that's why so many Latinos have been conned into supporting Democrats. But once they get a hefty snoot of the price that you pay when you elect Democrats, that electing Democrats will destroy the very reason why you fled to America to begin with. And then you start to get panicked because those in the Latino community start recognizing, oh my gosh, if America falls, where do I run to? There is no place to run to.
Well, help us straighten it out. The name of the book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino. Quite a few reviews, and I gotta save the best for last. And you probably should know who that's going to be. But Sean Spicer, former White House press secretary and the host of the Sean Spicer, said about the book, a powerful look at the political awakening reshaping America. With clarity and conviction, Chris exposes the left's grip on minority communities and celebrates the Latino leaders breaking free. And James Golden, who most people will know as AKO Bo Snerdley of the Rush Limbaugh Show, calls your book fearless and expertly exposes the historic shifts of the Latino communities taking place within the American electorate. For political junkies, this is a must read. But I had to save the best for last because AJ Rice is a friend of mine. He's been on the show 3 times, and Publius is a friend of this podcast, and Drew Thomas Allen, who's been on the show and a friend of the podcast. I just had AJ being AJ. Here's what AJ, the CEO of Publius, boy, I love him. He says, the author of this groundbreaking book, and I have debated the future of American Hispanics for almost 2 decades. He was right. And I was wrong, and I am never wrong. In this new book, Chris Salcedo brings both the ruckus and the education. You will learn that the GOP has a bright future with Latinos leading the way if they don't blow it.
Yep.
Yep. Some Eric Bolling, you've had a lot of people that chimed in, but why did you decide to write this particular book?
Well, as I said, it was the moniker, and it was
right.
I've been espousing for 15 years, coming to fruition with the election of President Donald J. Trump. And that part of the book takes place just before my interview, just before the election in October in Las Vegas. So President Trump, and this has to be pointed out, President Trump and the America First Coalition is what attracted so many Latinos to, by the way, majority of male Latinos voted for President Trump. First time a Republican has ever achieved that. And a record number of Latinos writ large voting for President Trump more than any other Republican in the past. The reason why is because President Trump gave a vision, something that was a contrast to the Democrats. The Republican Party has not. The Republican Party has shown almost no contrast to the Democrat Socialist Party. They believe in, if you listen to John Cornyn or you listen to Mitch McConnell or Liz Cheney or Adam Crying Kinzinger, the number one attribute they believe in is bipartisanship, which is Washington speak for do it all the Democrats' way. And we want something that is a bold contrast. We want, if you're going to vote Republican, you better be voting for something different, not Democrat-like. And that's what the America First Coalition gave Latinos. I got to tell you, Gary, the Democrats lost their minds. They said, little Johnny can be little Susie. They said
Right.
little Susie can be little Johnny. They said that men can have babies. They said the best woman for the job is a man, putting men in women's sports. And Latinos said, what? And
Yeah,
then,
I
and
was going
then,
to ask you about that. How does the Latino community look at that particular aspect?
well, then they said, I don't know how much Spanish you took in high school, but as you know, there are in the Romance languages, there are masculine and feminine
Feminine.
assigned to particular words, right? And the
Mhm.
Democrats said, hey, you know what? That's not going to work for us because of the LGBTQ, ABCDFG cultural Marxist agenda that we're implementing. So you're going to have to start calling yourselves Latinx. And we said, what? You want me to bastardize the Spanish language for you? So it was that opened the door to allow the Latino community to go, okay, these people are nuts. Let me see what else is out there. Now, if it had been Paul Ryan carrying the message, if it had been Mitch McConnell or John Cornyn carrying the message, I know the Latinos said, okay, I guess I'll just stick with the Democrats or not vote, right? But it was Trump who had the message. So it was the back guano crazy actions of the Democrats that opened the door, and there was something waiting for them because of President Trump and only because of President Trump. And the Republicans just proved without Trump and the America First coalition in the 2025 elections, we saw what happened as Marxist Mondani wins in New York, the center of American capitalism.
Yeah, we'll get into him.
A Marxist wins.
Yeah.
What they just showed by a couple of these shrubs that got elected, they had the support of the Communist Party of China. They win. The Republicans, absent Trump, couldn't even beat a man who said he wanted to see his Republican opponents dead and their children dead. Now, you tell me what that says about how robust and inspiring the Republican Party is. It's not. The Republican Party is nothing without the America First coalition. And the sooner everybody wakes up and recognizes that, the better.
Well, Chris, since you went there, we'll stay on that path for a hot minute here. And since you said that, and I agree with what you said, we have a couple years to really get this America First. And, you know, we're getting killed on, you know, what's going on the down balloting and off elections. And, you know, we're having trouble getting MAGA candidates even on the ballot. But do we have enough time to really get this entrenched in the minds of the electorate before Donald's gone? Because that's what I really believe the Republican establishment you're talking about is waiting for. We'll wait him out, just like we waited out Obama, and then try and let's go back to the Republican establishment, Democrat like normal.
Yes. You know, the Republican Party, its natural state of being is finding the nearest Democrat butt cheek in which to firmly plant their lips. That's their natural state of being. That's why President Trump was able to swoop in with such ease and take over their party. Did you notice that? If the Republican Party was delivering, if they had anybody who was interested at all in being a counterbalance to socialism, communism, and left-wing extremism of the Democrat Party, if they had any answer to Barack Hussein Obama, then Trump would never have been able to take over their party, but he did because he provided us something that we had heretofore not had, a choice. And that's, like I said, it only took Trump 4 years to make the most unlikely of political comebacks. And so we've got now 3 years. And as long as the Republicans, we drive out the McConnells and the Cornyns, and we embrace those and we stop these rhinos, these fake Republicans from sabotaging everything and delivering for their good Democrat socialist friends, as long as we the people wake up, and that's what it's going to take. Awakened, not woke, awakened population to make sure that this deal is done. And the deal is this: rejecting everything the left wing stands for and saving this country.
You said that and got that right. And you just segued right into when you said we as people need to be awake, not woke. The premise of your book is that the left's worst nightmare is a Latino population that is awake, not woke. Is this really going to happen, Chris?
Yeah.
Is it happening?
As long as there's an alternative point of view from the leftists that we can look at, examine, and make a decision about, damn right, it's going to happen. Look, I made a point, and you and I discussed this a little bit earlier. that the only thing the Democrat Party has provided minorities is an abortion clinic on every corner. That's their
liquor
legacy.
store. A liquor store.
Well, that too. Yeah. And I've got to point out that the Latino community is the fastest growing demographic in the United States. The Latino community is having children still, despite the Democrats' best efforts. They are the majority in California. They are the majority close to, just this shy, in Texas. So there are those in the Latino community who are interested in preserving this last best hope of mankind on planet Earth. Why? For our families. Not for politicians, not for the vaunted failed government that has grown beyond the consent of the governed. No, for our families. We want to see the promise of America restored. And that's not bad advice for every community in America. We need to be united under the American banner. Blacks, browns, whites, Asians, doesn't matter. As long as we have the America First Coalition mindset, we can and will rise to protect what we've got. But if we fail, if we get into this, what Reagan called trust me government, we're not long for this earth.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, along those lines, for decades, Latinos were called, just like blacks, you're racist if you're not willing to accept open borders, defunding the police, socialistic economic policies, you're a racist. I hope that's the script is getting flipped on that one among Latinos.
Well, who are the real racists, right? Yeah. They come out and say, Bill Richardson says that Ted Cruz, when Bill Richardson was alive, that he isn't considered a real Latino because he's not a left-wing crazy person, right? You got Charlemagne the God sitting there and taking it from Joe Biden when he said, "Hey, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black." That if you don't, your identity and your claim to your culture is somehow predicated on whether you put leftists in power. What? So if we surrender to that as a people, then we get what we deserve. The minute we stand up and say, no, not doing that. I don't surrender my culture to because of a left-wing crazy person, and neither should you, and neither should anybody else within the sound of our voice.
I hear you. Chris, you do a lot of other things. You host radio. You have your own show, obviously on Newsmax, the Chris Salcedo Show. You have the Salcedo Storm Podcast. So you talk about a lot of issues. And one of the things, me living here on Long Island, I can get to Manhattan. I can actually get to the Queens border in 20 minutes, which is actually part of New York City, and I can get into Manhattan in 45 minutes. And one of the things on your podcast that you were talking about recently was your take on the just completed election. You said the blue wave, as they said, the left, it wasn't a blue wave because they just held their territories. I got a kick out of you calling the Big Apple the rotten apple for electing Mondami. And then you talked about the Democrats in Virginia, where my sister lives, voting in an attorney general who wishes death on political opponents and their children. You want to give us a recap on the election? You want to take that to another level?
Well, I'm just going to say, folks, is the Republican Party proved that it's nothing without President Trump. It proved it's nothing without the America First agenda. The go along to get along Republican Party is almost as antiquated as the current Democrat Socialist Party is. Let's be plain. The two-party system in this country is a failure. There was a recent Gallup poll, I think it was in October. 62 or 64% of Americans want another option. Why? Because the two-party system is a failure. This good old boys club up on Capitol Hill that just reopened the government. Well, the House is about ready to reopen the government. They want a brownie button for doing what they should have been doing. Government's whole reason for being is to be there. And they couldn't even do that. And I'll tell you one thing, if you want to take it to another level, this government just proved that it can and will deprive food to 42 million people. Dick Durbin on the floor of the Senate the other day said, well, my left wing nut job kook fringe base says that we shouldn't be reopening government. He says, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my neighbor's paycheck or take food out of people's mouths to do it. That's exactly what the Democrat Party proved it can and will do. They just did it. And I think that anybody with the sound of my voice is bat guano crazy if you say, you know what? I think we ought to give that same government the power over our health care. I mean, what could go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, the healthcare is already a dismal failure. They're mad that we don't want to keep the dismal failure going. Unbelievable, but boy,
yep.
Unbelievable. Like I was here, involved in this, watching this New York City race, and to know Mondami carried much of the black vote, about 90%. But what I found ridiculous were the number of Jews that voted for him, because they, this cultural Marxism that I talked about with Gramsci, obviously from back in the day, but change the language, change the culture, change. We're not going to do the Karl Marx revolution in the United States. We'll do it by changing the Western culture through the language. And look at what he's done. Look at what they've done. 3 words. They called us racist, xenophobe, and homophobic. And I laughed at them. But notice the racist stuck. Then the homophobic, now people are, okay, we'll accept the trannies. And then the xenophobe, what I thought would never go on. I have people telling me the reason the Jews in New York that voted for Mondami, they want to prove they're not racist against Muslims.
Yeah. It's nuts. About the whole trans thing. Do you know the entire trans thing is a political creation?
Right, it's only less than 1% of.
No, actually, it's even less than that. If you look up the statistics, the data journals say that it's anywhere from 0.02 to 0.14% of our population are individuals that have something called gender dysphoria, folks. Yeah. That gender dysphoria is somebody, and I've actually, as probably the only conservative on the planet, who's actually interviewed a family of a child that is afflicted with this. So it is an exceedingly rare syndrome. Everything else, and that's, by the way, that, what that works out to? The population of the country is right on 340 million. If the worst case scenario, 0.14%, that's 48,000 people. That doesn't even fill up a damn football stadium, folks. So just understand that everybody else who is identifying as trans are just a bunch of freaks and kooks and nuts. It's a political creation because the Democrats needed something else to divide us. They chewed up and spit out the blacks. They chewed up and spit out the Latinos. They chewed up and spit out the gays. They chewed up and spit out, to a lesser degree, Muslims, mostly radical Muslims. And so now they're into this whole trans idiocy. Everything they do is to advance Marxism, cultural Marxism.
Got it.
Get you to abandon your rights and your freedoms. And I think the American people should wise up and say no more.
I agree with you. The name of the book is The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. Before I ask you to tell everybody where they can reach you and what you do all over the place, please tell them why they should get this book, and if they get this book, what they will find out.
Gary, first off, you order it right now on Amazon. It's on pre-order, so you can save yourself some money right now. It drops on December 9th, so do it. And when you order this book, you will have in your hand not only a retelling of the greatest political revolution to hit this country since the formation of the Republican Party. You will have the roadmap forward to continue it. Everything we've been discussing on this podcast, you will see the roadmap to making sure you are part, as a liberty lover, whether you're black, white, brown, doesn't matter. Any liberty lover can look through the pages of this, see the anatomy of how they're trying to destroy our country and how millions of Latinos just joined the fight. I liken it to World War II. Remember when at the dark days of World War II, the Allied powers were on the ropes, and the Axis powers were getting the upper hand, and then America joined the war. All of you are Allied powers out there that are pushing back against the Axis powers, and you just had millions of Latinos join the fight. Welcome them in, lock hands, and let's save our country. That's what you're going to find when you read the book. And now how you find me, chrissalcedo.com. That's it. Chris Salcedo, SALCEDO.com, radio, TV, podcast. It's all there.
Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate you coming on, and keep up that good fight. We watch you on Newsmax and your podcast. You didn't want to talk about it, but I will. He's got a great podcast, everybody. So go check out the Salcedo Storm. Right. Yeah, and he does his thing. And Chris has fire, and I love people with fire because passion means at least to me, passion means you care.
Yep.
So thanks for coming on and hanging out with me, Chris. God bless you and your family, and keep up the great fight.
Hey, appreciate it, Gary, and God's blessings to you in the Christmas season to come.
Thank you. There you have it, everyone. Mr. Chris Salcedo. I want to thank Chris Salcedo for coming on and alerting us to what I pray and hope is a new revolution, a revolution of Latinos for God, family, country, and the Constitution, rising up to join the rest of the patriots to take back our nation and to keep what President Trump started going after he's out of office, because we can't let it go back to what it used to be. Can't go there, America. No way, no shape, no how. Not on our watch. So, Chris, thank you for coming on and talking about your great new book. And I hope many people look into this, because it's not just about the rise of Latinos. It's about the rise of patriots, regardless of your race, your gender, where you stand on the financial totem pole. It does not matter. We have a country to save, people. So everybody needs to get on board. Podcast is available at radioinfluence.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find the video version at YouTube, Rumble, the God, Family, and Country Television Network, the Rose Unplugged Media Network, VirginiaChristian.org, the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com, YourNews.com, OBBM Network TV, and WeSeeYouMedia.com. Wherever you go, please subscribe, leave us a rating, a review. Tell your friends about the show. Now, I've been with Radio Influence ever since I started this back in 2021, and it started as an audio, and we had great guests. So if you go to radioinfluence.com/category/United Patriots Uprising/ you will find the audio versions where you'll hear guests such as Ben Carson, Monica Crowley, Kira Davis, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Carrie Lake, Mike Lindell, Dick Morris, Carol Swain, Judge Janine Pirro, Wayne Allen Root, Kirk Schlichter, Brandon Tatum, and Will Witt, among the 150 guests that were on before we went video. And what they said back then is almost, if not even more valid today. So please check that out. Well, that's all for now, everyone. So until the next time, this is your host, Gary Binford, saying God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless America.